Hello, this is Mark Sabatella from Outside Shore Music. In this video, I want to talk about a concept. I'm going to refer to this as distributed motion. It's not necessarily a concept that has a single well-defined universal term, but the idea is certainly well agreed upon and understood. It's the idea that in contrapuntal music, you probably want to have some sense of consistent rhythm, what's sometimes called a motor rhythm, a repeating figure, or even just a general sense that something is accounted for, say, all 16th notes in a piece. Like we're going to hear this piece here, this Bach invention, is basically just a steady stream of 16th notes. However, they are distributed among the voices. It's not one part that has all the 16ths. They keep switching roles, who has the 16th and then who doesn't have 16ths against it, so that at any given point, only one voice is carrying a lot of the motion while the other voice is kind of taking a back seat. So just taking this a little piece at a time. Right, that's the top voice carrying the 16ths and the only voice doing anything, but then immediately it's the bottom voice that then took over the 16ths, and then back to the top voice carrying the 16ths, and then right back to the bottom voice carrying the 16ths. And then we have, a whole series of phrases where the top voice is carrying all the 16ths, and it's mostly 2 to 1, right? 2 16ths against 1 8th note. Then finally, a little place where we have a whole series of 16th notes against 1 long note, and then the bottom voice takes over again. And then back to the top. Right? So it's distributed between the two voices. They're both taking on roles of 16ths, but for the most part, they are not doing the 16ths together. So we have steady 16ths, but the voices share in the motion. This is what I mean by distributed motion, and it's really common in contrapuntal music to keep that sense of independence happening and yet also always have a sense of forward momentum. I will just point out that later on in this piece, we do finally end up with a passage in which we do get both voices moving in 16ths here. We have a passage right? All 16ths in that passage, but notice that they're not just moving together in parallel, right? We're not just hearing parallel thirds like that are beautiful. Parallel sixths, parallel thirds, beautiful sound. But if you want to maintain a sense of independence, of counterpoint, Bach is using more contrary motion. A little bit of parallel motion, but then contrary. And then a little parallel, then contrary, right? So he's kind of mixing things up a bit. And then the one other texture we get here is really long notes being sustained while the other voice moves, and then that note sustains, and then this voice sustains, right? So it's trading the motion back and forth, but now with a many notes against one type of texture. So this idea of keeping that motion, that steady stream of 16ths going throughout most of the piece, but varying how you go about it. So it's not a one voice carrying all the motion, nor is it both voices or all voices carrying all the motion all the time. But again, it's an idea of distributed motion that really characterizes so much of what makes counterpoint what it is.